Well, hello students. Today we are here to discuss this topic of management. What is management? It is a term which can conveniently be used, at different places. We manage our household affairs, right? The school where you're studying, there also management is there. Management is all pervasive. It is present almost in all the organization. It is required in almost all the organization. I take the example of your mother at home. A new term. Earlier we used to say that my mother is a housewife. Now we say that my mother is a house manager. That's a new term that has been coined. There is a reason for it. Early in the morning she gets up and she plans that आज खाने में बनना क्या है, क्या बनाना है. That is planning. किसके टिफिन में क्या जाएगा? That is planning. After she has identified कि आज बनेगा क्या, second thing is that what all material do I require to cook what I have planned? What all do I require to cook what I have planned? This is organizing. This is organizing, getting all the material that is required to give my plan a actual shape. Third, she decides आज कौन सी मेड सब्जी काटेगी, ठीक है, कौन सी मेड सफाई करेगी और कौन सी मेड आके कपड़े धोएगी. Right? I have assigned the task, right, of chopping the vegetables, of washing the clothes, of cleaning the house to 3 different maids. Right? I have the appropriate staff to take care of my all the household chores. This is staffing. Directing. Right? I am going to create an atmosphere wherein all 3 of these maids and myself, fine, we work towards the accomplishment of what I have planned. We work towards the accomplishment of the predetermined objectives. मतलब ऐसा environment create करेंगे, खाने वाली खाना बहुत अच्छा बना जाए, which is very tasty, right? My house should be neat and clean by the end of the day. My clothes should be nicely washed, ironed, fine, before everyone comes back home. ठीक है? Last, what am I going to do as a house manager? I'm going to taste the food. ठीक बना है, जैसी मैंने इंस्ट्रक्शंस दी थी, क्या ये वैसा ही है? कपड़े साफ है? Fine. Are they clear of all the stains? What am I doing? I am checking onto my maids that have they done the work as they have been directed? Have they followed the instructions that I had given in the beginning? Are they working towards the accomplishment of the objectives that I had identified at the beginning of the day? So here we are. The entire process of management is right in front of you at your house. Taking from this, I say management can be defined as a process of getting the work done by others. Mind you, getting the work done by others with the aim of achieving goals effectively and efficiently. Now, 4 important terms in this definition. Process, as I told you, that there is a step-by-step process that your mother has followed during the day to complete this process of management. It's a process which contains steps, right? Secondly, it is a process of getting the work done by others. She did not do it herself. She did not do it herself. She has delegated the work to 3 different maids. I'm continuing with the same example. She has delegated the work to 3 different maids. So it's a process, and it's a process of getting the work done by others. Not doing yourself, but you're getting the work done by others, right? You are involved basically in the process of planning, making plans and setting the objectives and identifying who's going to do what, right? And providing the relevant material which is required to give a practical shape to your plan. Fine. Thereafter, with the aim of achieving your goals, your eyes have to be constantly fixed on the objective. Whatever actions that you are going to undertake, they have to be in pursuance of fulfillment of the organizational objectives which have been identified at the very beginning. Last but not the least, these goals are to be achieved effectively and efficiently. Now, these two terms, effectiveness and efficiency, they play a very important role in the process of management. Now, many people, they think that these are synonyms, but they're actually not. They complement each other, meaning effectiveness has no meaning without efficiency, and efficiency has no meaning without effectiveness. What is the meaning of effectiveness? I have assigned you this job of doing 50 questions as a teacher. I have assigned you this job of doing 50 questions by the end of the day. Right? You have finished 50, you are able to finish these 50 questions by the end of the day. You are able to finish off the assigned job. That is effectiveness. That is effectiveness. But what is efficiency? Efficiency is doing the work correctly and at the minimum possible cost. I repeat, doing the work correctly at the minimum possible cost. So I can say my effectiveness and efficiency, they are two sides of the same coin. They are two sides of the same coin and they are interrelated. Right? We take an example that I send one of the employees of my organization to, let's say, fetch some raw material from the market. Okay? Or let's say to fetch some sweets from the market which have to be distributed amongst the staff. And the market is just about, let's say, about 3 kilometers from the office. Now, there are 3 employees. Fine. Let's say I assign this task to 3 different employees. Employee number 1, he gets up, takes his bicycle, okay, reaches the shop, purchases the mithai and comes back. The next employee hires a cab. He hires a cab, reaches the market, buys the mithai and comes back. The third employee thinks that he'll walk it up, purchase the mithai and come back. Now, out of all these 3 employees, they all have worked effectively. Why? Because they have been able to complete the assigned task. They have been able to buy the mithai and come back to the office. But have they worked efficiently? चलो सही है, सही मिठाई घर लेकर आए. But minimum possible cost पे किसने किया? जो मेरू कैब बुक कराया, alright, for 3 kilometers, he would add the taxi fare, right? The person who went on foot, okay, he will take at least 20 to 25 minutes to reach to the market, and the same time in coming back to the office. Will he be able to reach within the desired time? No. So basically, the person who took his bicycle, he was the best. He did the wisest thing, right? 3 kilometers just means about 5 minutes or 10 minutes at the max by bicycle, right? 0 cost for petrol. It is only the time that he's taken, and he bought the mithai and came back and delivered the good. So he has done his job effectively and efficiently. So manager has to maintain just the right amount of balance between effectiveness and efficiency. Sometimes it may have to compromise also onto efficiency, right? Because what we are aiming at is, again coming back to the same point, that the product has to be made available to the customer at the right time, at the right place, at the right cost. Failing which, it is going to lose its essence. So therefore, again, I repeat that management can be defined as a process of getting the work done by others with the aim of achieving organizational goals effectively and efficiently. right? So both effectiveness and efficiency, they complement each other. Neither too much stress has to be laid on effectiveness nor efficiency. There has to be just the right amount of balance between the two. Now coming to that, what are the different steps in the process of management? We said that management is a process. Now, what are the different steps which are to be undertaken in the process of management? First one being planning. Now, what is planning? At your end also, many a times after you pass out from class 12th, you plan a continuation party. You plan. That is deciding in advance what is to be done in future. Okay, we will schedule our continuation party after our pre-boards are over, our board practicals are over. You are planning, right? That is just going to be the right time wherein मेरे बोर्ड के प्रैक्टिकल्स खत्म है, मुझे टेंशन नहीं है ज्यादा, तो ये एकदम सही टाइम है पार्टी करने के लिए. बोर्ड के एग्जाम शुरू होने से पहले आई एम गोइंग टू हैव दिस पार्टी, राइट? देन यू प्लान that okay, I am going to have it at ABC banquet hall. Fine. What is the cost factor? आप वो estimate करते हो. उसके बाद आप decide करते हो कितने लोग आएंगे यहाँ पे and how much each one of them is going to contribute. Right? So you are basically, what are you doing? You are deciding in advance what is to be done in future. Planning is nothing else but taking a peep into the future and deciding your actions today. You decide that what is going to be my plan of action depending upon the predictions that you've made about future. Remember, this is planning is only based on predictions. It can never be accurate. There is not 100% guarantee that whatever plan you have made, maybe you plan to, for a continuation party, you thought that you are going to have it in open air. But that day, it starts raining. So your plan went for a 6. It is not going to be successful, right? But it depends. The success of a plan is dependent upon many factors, right? Future is something that you cannot predict with accuracy. So whatever plan you are going to make, that is on the basis of the predictions, the assumptions that you've made about future. Clear? Second comes organizing. In planning, I have identified the broad objectives of my organization. I have identified the broad objectives of my organization towards which I'm going to continuously work, right? Now, after I have identified the objectives, like I told you in the previous example, while planning in the morning, your mother decides that I am going to make A, B, and C. This is what I'm going to cook, right? I'm going to have 3 rooms cleaned, or this is the number of the clothes that I'm going to have washed and ironed, right? So my objectives have been clearly defined in the process of planning. Then comes into picture organizing, wherein I am going to arrange all the material. I'm going to arrange all the material which is required to give a practical shape to my plans. Whatever material is required to give a practical shape to my plans. Again, going back to the same example, after having decided that I am going to make, let's say, pasta, right? Now, whatever are the ingredients which are required to make that particular dish, I am going to arrange for that, right? And I am going to decide who's going to do what. I am going to define the authority responsibility relationships in the process of organizing. Right? I am going to define that A is going to report to B, B is going to report to C, and C will finally come and report to the manager. This is what I do in the process of organizing, right? Thereafter, third process comes stuffing. After you have identified what all is to be done, right? Who's going to be doing what? You have identified the different roles, right? That I need to have a sales manager, I need to have a production manager, I need to have a marketing manager, I need to have a human resource manager, a finance manager, and the list goes on. You have identified different roles. You have identified different roles. Fine. So now in staffing, you are going to be hiring, you're going to be looking at hiring just the right person who is going to be fit for performing that role. You are looking for a right person who's going to be fit for performing that role so that he's able to perform his duties to the best of his abilities. That is what we do in staffing. After this comes fourth function, that is directing. Now, in directing, it includes basically leading and motivating the employees. Leading and motivating. As a manager, I'm going to lead and I'm going to motivate my employees to work towards fulfillment of the organizational goals. To work towards the fulfillment of the organizational goals, I'll have to create an environment which is conducive for them to work to the best of their abilities and to work towards the organizational fulfillment of the organizational goals, right? I'll have to create a congenial environment. I'll have to define the formal lines of communication, the informal lines of communication, right? Being a leader, I'll have to basically persuade them, right? Or convince them, all right? I'll have to keep directing their efforts towards one direction. I'll have to direct the efforts of all the employees towards one direction, that is accomplishment or fulfillment of the organizational goals. Last but not the least step that we talk about is controlling. Now we take a halt over here. What is controlling? Controlling is looking back. Right? I had set certain standards of performance. While planning, right? Then in these 3 steps, under controlling, I'm going to see, have I adhered to those standards? Am I really working towards the accomplishment of the organizational goals? Or how far have I been successful in accomplishment of the organizational goals? If I have been successful, good. If not, where am I deviating? Why am I deviating? And what steps should I take so that I do not deviate? This is what comes under controlling. So I repeat, management is basically a process of getting the work done by others. When we say process, we mainly talk about these 5 steps. That is planning, organizing, staffing, directing, and controlling. While going back to organizing, there's a very good example that comes to my mind, that a watch, okay, it has close to about 156 components. Right? It's only when these components, they work in tandem to each other, that your watch gives you a right tick. Clear? You take all those 156 components and put it in a handkerchief and tie it up. Will it give you a right tick? No, it will not work. It is only when all these components are put together at the right place. Each of the component has a role to play. Now, if that component is fitted at the right place and it plays its role nice and proper, only then your watch is going to function properly. Right? Now, from this, there are only 2 persons who've developed principles, that is your general broad guidelines of management, that is Henry Fayol and Taylor. Basically, when we talk about management principles, they are not like your scientific principles. Scientific principles are very rigid, okay, and they are going to give you the same result. But management principles cannot afford to be rigid. they cannot afford to be rigid since they deal with human behavior. They deal with human behavior, so they have to be applied creatively as the situation demands. Now, I'm going to be covering certain principles given by 𝗙𝗃. Now, he gave about 14 principles. 14 management principles were given by Henry 𝗙𝗃. And the first one being, and the most important, I guess you guys will be able to relate to that, is division of work. Division of work. Now, what is meant by division of work? I'll take a simple example. I do this many a times in my class. We have let's say we have a display board to be made. Okay? What I do is, I'm going to identify the students in the class. I'm going to identify the students who are good at art. I'm going to identify the students who have a good handwriting. I'm going to identify the students who have a flair for writing. And I'm going to identify students who have a sense of design. मैंने 4 different group of students identify किए, who are good at artwork, who have a good handwriting, who have a flair for writing, right? Then sense of design. Clear? Now, whatever artwork is to be done on my board, that is, some caricatures are to be made, some cartoons are to be made, or some other pictures are to be made, I am going to assign it to the students who are good at artwork, right? Secondly, some content also has to be there. Let's say I'm making a board on social responsibility. So I need content also on this, that what is social responsibility, why should the business act in a socially responsible manner, what are the characteristics, and the list goes on. So those who have a flair for writing, who can express their point of view on a particular topic, I'm going to make them write on that. Right? Then the students who have a good handwriting can fare out whatever group 2 has written about the topic. Clear? All my material is ready. My borders are ready. My cartoons, caricatures are ready. My written material is ready. Now I have to put all of this on a board. I have to put all of this on a board. Now this task I'm going to assign to group 4, who has a sense of design, who knows that what item is to be placed where. So actually, what have I done? I have divided the entire task of putting up a display board into 4 subparts, and I have assigned each task, okay, to a person who is good at performing that particular task only. Now, why am I doing this? Number 1, because if a student who's good at artwork, और मैं उसको लिखने को दे दूं, he will hate doing it. He will hate doing it and will not do it. वो मन से नहीं करेगा वो. Right? Because that is something that he doesn't enjoy. Whereas if I'm giving him some artwork to be done, that is his passion, he likes doing it, and he's going to do it with a lot of interest, and he's going to come up with new ideas also, because that is his forte. He specializes in that. Clear? Similarly, the person who has a flair for writing, he cannot even hold the brush properly. If I give him to paint something, he will not be able to do it. But he will do justice to the development of the content. इसका end result क्या होगा? मैंने सबको वही काम दिया है जो उनको करना अच्छा लगता है. They are going to perform it to the best of their abilities. As a result, my display board is going to be an excellent one, because each one of these groups, they specialize in the activity that they have been entrusted with. Same goes with the organization also, right? You have different departments. Why is it that you have production department, you have selling department, you have marketing department, you have HR department? Different departments are there. Why is it so? Because we want to divide you can't be master of all, you jack of all trade is master of none. So basically, whatever is your line of specialization, you are only going to be doing that. This is your first principle, that is division of work. Second comes unity of command. Unity of command. Now, how would you like it that if in one period only, your English teacher, your maths teacher, your accountancy teacher, your business studies teacher, and your economics teacher, all of them, they come together at the same time and they start teaching you? Will you be able to decipher anything out of it? No. Right? The point that I'm trying to make over here is unity of command says that one employee should get instructions from one boss only. My reporting of a particular employee should be to one boss only. He should not be reporting to two different bosses. Why? Because it may happen that the instructions that boss A is giving is against the instruction that boss B is giving. So here there will be overlapping of the instructions that are being given to the employee. So in order to avoid that, the principle of unity of command says that the employee should have only a single boss. Third principle we talk about is unity of direction. Let us say this organization, it manufactures automobiles, it manufactures cars and motorcycles, right? Now these cars and motorcycles, they should be operated as two separate divisions which are being headed by two different people who have two different plans to run these segments, right? This will avoid any kind of overlapping of any objectives, okay? Two different segments with different objectives, with different work plan and with different bosses. This is what our principle of unity of direction says. Thereafter, I come at the principle. This is a very interesting principle, that is principle of scalar chain. We talk about scalar chain. Now, according to this principle, there is an authority-responsibility relationship that has been established in an organization. There is a hierarchy which has been established in an organization, starting from top to bottom, right? Now, if A is the topmost boss, and these are the two segments that it has, A here we have P, Q, R, S and T. Now, according to the principle of scalar chain, right, if F has to reach up to A, he will first have to go to E, then E will go to D, then D will go to C, C will go to B, and then B will finally make the information reach to A. F cannot directly reach A. A is nothing else but he is the CEO of the company. The same goes for if I talk about your school. That is something that you'll be able to relate with. If I, as a teacher, I have to talk to the principal, I cannot straight away go to the principal. I'll first have to follow the protocol. I'll have to follow the hierarchy. I'll have to go to the HM. HM will go to the vice principal. The vice principal will then go to the principal. But however, if the vice principal and the HM are not there in the school and this is something which has to be urgently reported to the higher authority, in that case, yes, I may straight away reach the CEO. We talk about two different segments, right? Now, if S from segment B wants to talk to E of segment A, right? He will first have to go to R, Q, P, A. A will give the instructions to B and like that. But what happens is, in this process, a lot of time is wasted. A lot of time is wasted in doing that. Till the time the information reaches E, maybe it loses its essence. So in case of an urgent situation, S can directly establish a contact with E. This is called as, we call it as gangplank. We call it as gangplank. Now, after this, I talk about, there is another principle that I'm going to be talking about is authority and responsibility. What is authority? Authority is nothing else but it is right to give orders to get the work done. Right? Right to give orders and to get the work done. And responsibility is nothing else but it is a corollary of authority. Along with authority comes the responsibility. Along with authority comes the responsibility. I can delegate the authority, but I cannot delegate the responsibility. If I'm the principal of the school, there is a task which has come to my desk, okay? I am going to delegate that task to my teachers. They are going to be executing that, right? But if the task is not completed on time, who's answerable? Is that teacher answerable or is the principal answerable? The principal is answerable, fine? Because the final responsibility is that of the principal. So 𝗙𝗃 says that there has to be just the right amount of parity. There has to be a balance between authority and responsibility. If you are making a person responsible for a particular task, then he also has to be given sufficient amount of authority to execute that task effectively and efficiently. For example, if I have gone for a business meeting and I am going to strike a deal which is going to get my company, let's say, about 50 lakh of rupees, right? My company says that I can offer a discount of about 10 to 20%. But the other party wants me to give them a discount of about 25%, another 5% extra. Now, if that person is not given that authority to give that extra 5%, then you can imagine the kind of the loss, the notional loss that the company is going to incur by losing onto that order. So he should be given that kind of freedom that 5% ऊपर नीचे discount वो कर सकता है. If he thinks that by giving that extra 5%, the amount of profit that he's going to get to the firm is huge, right? Now, we have done about 5 principles of 𝗙𝗃, and the next whatever remaining principles, I think we'll cover in the next class.